You're going to see this boot up, see? Boom. I'll do it one more time. We'll watch it slow mode. You ready?
Yep.
This is an AlphaSmart 3000. It is pretty much the typewriter for the start of the 21st century. And we're going to watch this here. We're going to see the software, AlphaSmart LLC, boom. And then you can just go up and down with these keys. I can space and say, let's shift. Where's the enter? There's the enter. They only have it in one spot. So now I have a blank slate because I entered down some. This. Where's is cool. It's a lot easier to do this when you can see the keys. And see, I was able to type that out, do all that. I can go up or down with these arrow keys. But why? And then we even have a shift here. And there you go. Why? But why? This is cool. And it's just kind of an LED display, but it's really a black text there. And it's kind of translucent. You can kind of see the chips and the stuff that make this up. I think I paid $50 for this like 5 years ago. I used this when I was on a digital Sabbath where I would not look at screens for a whole week. I wrote a whole college paper on this initially. It's a rough draft. It became a 15-page paper about imagery, porn, religion, culture, and technology, and its usage and its impact in society. So a fairly highfalutin, pompous paper, but it was one of my favorites that I did. So you can just see it's basically a keyboard. There's no internet connectivity. There's none of that fancy bullshit with this. This is just a basic computer typewriter. But I could open up multiple files and do that. And you can just see here's all these different.
You can save whole documents on it.
Yes.
And it's compatible with Windows.
Windows, Linux, or Macintosh. It exports them as a text-based document.
If you plugged it into a computer with Windows 10, would it still be compatible?
Yes. This is its main compatibility thing. That port, you'd plug in what you'd use for a standard printer, a USB to printer connector, and that still works today.
And this thing was made about 5 years ago?
20 years ago.
Okay, so you bought it 5 years
I
ago.
bought it used 5 years ago, but it was built around 2000.
So it's about 20, well, yeah, it's almost 20 years old. And at the time, it was probably Windows 98 was the newest thing, right?
Yeah, Windows 98, 2000. So we can see here's the back, AlphaSmart. You can see it's 3000, the model. They had an AlphaSmart 2000, all that, all the instructions with it here. Made in the USA, which is always a big deal. I always like to highlight that. And then it runs on batteries. Here we can kind of look at that. They are AA's, 4 AA's, I believe. And you can just run it, and that's what this is running on. And this hasn't been used in like 5 years. And
how long do the batteries last? I mean, I would think they'd last a long time.
Well, especially, I didn't think the thing would even turn on. But yes, it did. You can see it there. See it in its shining glory. Has a spell checker too, I believe. Spell check. Well, let's just.
And this was an educational tool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine this was useful for like giving something to kids that they could type stuff out, but not get distracted by the internet. And so on.
Growing up, I had really bad handwriting, and I used this a fair amount. So it also was a good thing. It's an empowering technology. It's decent, but it's also something that I think would make you more of a target with bullies and other people because it differentiates you to some extent. But I thought it was just a cool technology, and I have.
Did people bully you because you had this thing?
Yeah, to some extent. They're like, why does he get to use this? Or why does he have that? You know,
Yeah.
and that stuff. But then when my handwriting, the way it looks, I look like I have an MD and a PhD if you ever read anything that I've handwritten, because it's about that caliber of scribbles. Now, I can decipher it, and with a lot of my mind and how a lot of my brain works, the autodidactic AlphaSmart 3000, because I'm pretty much self-learned, self-taught on a lot of things, and a lot of that had to do with this writing. That kind of ties into this system because I didn't have one of these most of the time. I maybe had it part of the school year one time or whatever. A lot of the stuff that I did, I had to remember, and that's why I can remember a ton of facts and a ton of information without really writing it down and remember it almost verbatim. Because I didn't have the luxury of like, well, let me reference my notes. There ain't no notes here. There's scribble lines and garbage mostly. And I could interpret that to some extent, but that was that. So it was just kind of an interesting technology and an interesting tool there. And you can save about 8 files. There's the print button that would send it to the computer if you hit print and you have it connected. Or the send button does that too, I believe.
I'm guessing probably about like 1 megabyte of storage or something like that.
Oh, I think more than that, but I don't remember off the top.
Because like text doesn't really, especially, I mean, there's not even fonts or anything like that.
Nope.
It's just the raw data of the letters and the spaces and the characters. So I would think it wouldn't need very much memory space at all.
Nope, it's very bare bones, very basic. But now, instead of just having a little Johnny run this and use that, you can hit whatever button you want and do that. You give him an iPad and let him tweet himself and do all this other bullshit.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this seems like something that would be popular with schools because it would be a way for kids to have a word processor without being distracted by the internet. But then, of course, these days kids have their phones anyway, so. And a lot of the times the teachers are afraid to even take the phones away because they don't want to be accused of harassment. They don't want to get shit from the parents. It's a pretty sad state of affairs.
Yeah, so then they just let them tweet themselves, just stream their
and play with
class
their fidget spinners.
and all that stuff. Where any real learning, the kids don't really want to do it. You know, we had a buddy of ours. Remember, me and you are both very passionate about learning and intellectual endeavors. And we talked to him, and we're like, "Hey, buddy, you like to learn?" We heard a cricket, after about a minute and a half of that. And I think that's your average state of a lot of Americans and a lot of people in general with intellectual curiosity and academic, progress and stuff.
People don't have an intrinsic love of learning. They like to learn if it's going to be of some real world use to them. Like they'll learn like if they're working an office job, they'll learn like policies and stuff, and they'll learn like if they'll learn something to make money if they think it's going to fatten up their paycheck.
Yeah.
A lot of kids who go to college or do well in school, it's purely for instrumental reasons, and I don't consider that true intelligence. I think that true intelligence is having a love of learning for its own sake.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But then there's even people who really need to learn stuff for work, and no matter what you do or how you tell them, it's just like going in one ear and out the other. There's just some people that they just don't have the capacity to learn and stuff. But
so does that pretty much cover the AlphaSmart?
I think that covers the AlphaSmart.
Okay, cool. It is a neat little piece of technology. It's like a little digital typewriter, and
they're kind of rare. You don't see them much.
Yeah.
So we're good to go.